You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the option block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the option block.
All right, everybody, that rockin' tune means it's time to rock out with everyone's favorite bi-weekly options show. I know it's certainly my favorite. I might be biased, though, but I do indeed enjoy it. It's time for the option block. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting Options Insider Radio Network. You guys know how to get at us by now, at least I hope so, because you're listening to us. Of course, you get it by the website. If you want the on-demand version, the website, iTunes, TuneIn, all those great places, our mobile app. No shortage of places to find that. Pretty much pick your poison on any podcast aggregator out there. You can do it. Or if you have your own RSS reader, you want to just grab the RSS feed from our website, you can do that too. And plug it into whatever device you choose and listen away. We're not judgmental here at the old network. However you want to listen, you can get it. Of course, if you're hardcore, you want to listen. Maybe today's action has got you down the dumps, or maybe you're happy today. Who knows? You want to join us live for a little bit of fun every Monday and Thursday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern via Mixlr. This is going to be the last live shows for the week. So if you want your live shows, got to get them in today. Of course, the markets are closed tomorrow for Good Friday. Don't blame me. I don't make these decisions, even though I like a good market holiday every now and then. Kind of just sets things right, even if it does erode that premium oh so aggressively. But we'll get to that. Get to that in a bit. And of course, however you listen live after the fact, hit us up. Questions, comments, insights, pearls of wisdom. We do, yes, indeed, we do like to hear from you guys. And joining me on the old program today, straight from his wood turning class up there in the hinterlands of Maine, none other than the Rock Lobster himself, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the show, sir. How goes the turning of the wood?
The turning of the wood, you know what? It goes round and round. That's all I can say. It goes round and round. What was that song in the 80s?
Round and round
Rat song?
It's a great song, yes. I'd play it right now if you didn't want to pay the licensing fees, but that's a good tune, yes.
Not too good. I guess. But anyway, I'm trying to remember the hair band that played that song. But anyway,
there was a legion of those one-hit wonder hair bands of the '80s: Cinderella, Rat, you name them, Poison to a degree, a bunch of them. You know, there were lots of those. But Rat had their moment, and Round was indeed it. Speaking of their moments, Uncle Mike enjoying one of his right now. He's off on assignment at that place where we actually do quite a bit of shows from, which is Orlando, Florida. Unfortunately, he's not beaming in today. He's off doing the family deal. Can't really hold it against him. So he's having fun in scenic and sunny Orlando. But Mr. Rock Lobster and I, don't worry. We put on our big boy pants today. We put on our talking pants. We're ready. Rock Lobster's done turning wood. He's focused. He's ready to go because it's time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
You know, Mr. Rock Lobster, I guess you and I are the last two, the Mohegans here that are still around doing business today. Everyone else is pretty much already gone for the hinterlands. We were looking around for people. A lot of people like to come on, guest star on this show. But today, nobody's around. Everybody's already left for their vacations. Talk to the Flow Master. Talk to everybody. There's literally nobody. I'm surprised anybody's listening. Everyone's already gone for vacation. I'm surprised you haven't gone for vacation somewhere, Mr. Rock Lobster.
I live in Maine on the water. There's no real where to go. I'm just, there's no...
That's true. That's true. When you live in paradise itself, There's literally nowhere to go. I used to trade with a bunch of Canadians, a lot of them were from Alberta, and particularly Calgary, and all of them viewed Calgary as paradise on earth for some reason. Who am I to look askance at such a thing? And so they were never really want to go anywhere because they just loved Calgary so much. So to each their own. If you're living in your own personal paradise, maybe it's Calgary at Stampede Tide, maybe it's turning wood in the hinterlands of Maine, whatever floats your boat. Why indeed would you leave your own personal paradise? You know, it was for the Bulls. I know wherever Uncle Mike is, and I know where he is. He's in Orlando. He's got a big smile on his face because the Bulls were back in charge. Things were getting a little dicey, a little scary. Then we had that big rally, remember, earlier to kick off the week. Then things seemed like he gave up a lot of it. Yesterday, it was kind of been topsy-turvy. Well, we saw a lot of rally-ho mode coming in today. Most of the major indices closing up at 2% or close to it. So pretty much the market giveth, the market taketh away, and the market giveth again. Today, S&P up kind of the Goldilocks of the bunch, up about 1.7% or so. The tech-heavy NASDAQ leading the charge up 2% or so, a little bit north of that. And again, you know, who would have thought that given the drubbing that so many of these names have taken? And we'll get to that in a bit. And of course, we also have the Dow, the Goldilocks, the kind of the forgotten child of the bunch, only up a mere about 1.6%, a little over 300, about 300 some odd points there today, which is just paltry potatoes out there. And of course, our old friend VIX Cash taking a little bit of a break going into the long weekend off about, a good 3 handles or so, which I know a lot of you out there who've been watching this ever-growing backwardation in the VIX futures and just the alarming nature who you want this thing to erode tomorrow, then I know a lot of you will take a little bit of solace in that fact. So let's start there, Mr. Rock Lobster. A lot to sink our teeth into, kind of a lot of green on the screen today. What caught your eye in today's activity, sir?
Well, besides the rally, besides the 100-point move in Amazon, I think Amazon had an intraday almost 100-point move. That was something. There was I think there was a Trump tweet-a-thon in there for a while.
Actually, it was 90 Amazon. Handles. 90 handles, Der. How dare you exaggerate? Only 90 handles.
Sorry. My bad. My bad. Facebook rallying, again, everything that kind of the government doesn't like had a decent day today. And I would just say vol went down. So volatility in, the vol products went down quite a bit today. And we dropped out of, we were in zone 4 yesterday briefly, the vaulted zone 4, the scary zone 4. And today, not. VIX is trying to close under 20. I'll see if they actually get that tick. And really just to see if all this, if I think there was a lot of, when the market was already, there was already some jitters, and then you got trade war, which might not be a trade war. And then we're going to big technology stocks, which are leading the market. That got everybody upset. So I think there's a lot of, it's a good old fashioned, there's a lot of smoke, but there hasn't really been a lot of fire as far as real setbacks go that I can see. Besides, I think it kind of started off losing Gary Kahn or interest rates, at 10-year highs. What are they, 3%? The 10 years, 3%. I mean, the biggest problem is the government's going to have to borrow more and pay money for interest now. So I think those things they were kind of the elephant in the room, so to speak. And maybe now they might start to, how is the government going to stop spending all the money they've been doing for the last 10 years, trying to bail the economy out, all that. Those jitters are there, but so far, there hasn't been a lot of real, there's been a lot of gnashing of teeth, but there hasn't been a lot of real, what I would call worry, or actually real meat on the bone for economic problems. Just rates are going up because people are starting to act like, or they're starting to act like a little bit more normal economic time. So with that, and we just saw a bounce back in tech. We're still at 2,600, and the old high with the 2,900, I think, was the high for the year. We were 2,800 only, 2 weeks ago? So I I think really what we're waiting for is technology earnings, and see how all that plays out. I don't think any of the Facebook problems will show up in this earnings cycle, but maybe later. But all that comes in around the end of April. So I think if anything will damp down volatility, at least short term, it'll be good earnings, but we're going to have to wait for it. So the question is how long does this, just as the 20 vol stay and the $100 straddles and the SPX stay around this level and stuff like that? If there's appetite, but we're still moved a solid 40 handles today, or 35 handles in the SPX. So the vol is where it should be based on what's going on. So that, I think, to me, that's all the big stuff. But stuff like Google and some of those stocks really, they bounce like a rubber biscuit today. So I think people were waiting, since like more bad news didn't come pouring out. I think people decided to sort of jump back in and grab something. So overall, it worked out pretty good, I think.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of sessions. Let's, you mentioned the Googles and the Facebooks. Let's start there in the tech realm, because you're right. It has been just a crazy drubbing. I don't know if you know this, Mr. Rock Lobster, but FANGs are over. FANGs are done. FANGs have been de-fanged. In fact, if you, I was looking at it today, I forgot who put this out. I think it was Market Watch who put out their version of it. Because if you're tired of FANGs, then hey, who isn't, right? Then you got to go for the wins. That's the new version. Of course, FANGs, the old version, was Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. They squeezed in, I prefer the FAA, the FAANG version with Apple in there as well. But to each your own, whichever version of the FANG you prefer. But they're saying the new version is the WINS, WNSSS. Not quite as catchy of an acronym. That's Weibo, NVIDIA, Square, ServiceNow, and Shopify. And they're saying if you break it down by overall returns, if you had put 10 grand, the proverbial 10 grand, into the FANG stocks back at the beginning of 2015, so a little over 3 years ago, you'd have $1.65 right now. Not bad. But if you did it in the wins, you'd have a whopping $312,000 right now. So that's clearly better. And so they break down all the total returns by each right now and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. But still, Weibo. So, Mr. Rock Lobster, are you buying what they're selling here? Weibo, NVIDIA, ServiceNow, Shopify, and Square. Never mind that the latter of those certainly riding high on some crypto love. I guess you got to have a little bit of there and whatever the new acronym. I don't know. WINS is not doing it for me. Just the acronym alone. Not really lighting my hair on fire here. What about you? So they picked the 5 hottest performing stocks and say, okay, everybody, we want you to pile into these now. Exactly. This is like the old winners of the Dow strategy versus the dogs of the Dow, apparently. Now, instead of the Dow, though, it's obviously the NASDAQ, or pick your pick. But yeah, so they've just found the 5 hottest performers, and they lumped them all in there. Are you buying this? Are you buying that Facebook is over and all the other fun stuff? We're in a new era, sir. Who needs Facebook? You got Square, right? I mean, it's all mobile payments and crypto now, right?
Is Square still a crypto? Is it still a crypto darling?
Pretty much. They've moved. Pretty much the lion's share of this move that gets them into the wins has all been on the back of crypto. Here we go. SQ. I'm trying to always blink on there. So Square is currently 49.9, up about 4% today alone. And their chart looks like kind of a rocket ship to the moon over the past year. A year ago, they were trading, a whopping $17, Mr. Rock Lobster. So they're up over 30 handles since then.
I think you could have bought the Dorsey pair, Twitter and Square. You could have bought each of them for less than $20.
Yeah, there you go.
You would be doing okay.
That's not a bad pairs trade to make in hindsight, sir.
No.
So you're not buying the wins then?
I'm not buying the wins. I know Weibo has been a monster, but hard to catch all those monstrosities at this point. So NVIDIA now, what do you do? It's the thing's up tenfold in 2.5 years or something like that. So I'm sure they all have plenty of room to grow, but
I'd be scary to dive in at these levels here. You're right. Just naked start right into NVIDIA. The thing was a fraction of its former self not too long ago, and now it's 250 today. 231, excuse me. But speaking of names that were loftier Facebook, just the drudging, they call it the Techlash, Techmageddon, Facebook backlash, call it what you will. Just the annihilation continued. Today, it finally rebounded, kind of one of the first big rebounds off this. We were talking on our last show earlier this week that, those weekly puts on the 150 line had traded about $6, which seemed crazy, but they got even higher this week as things got crazy. Facebook really just taking it on the chin, drifting down as low. Hit 150.80 yesterday, so threatening that 150 strike. I know, Mr. Rock Lobster, you're loaded up on a ton of 150 puts. How are those looking out there in Facebook today, sir?
They're not doing very well. What's funny is the volatility in there is only in the mid-30s. That doesn't seem very high, does it?
That shows kind of how kind of calm it was compared to a lot of other tech names out there. It wasn't really a rock'em sock'em robot's name. It kind of just gently went up, right?
It did. It's creeping, and I don't think calls in there look I don't think any of the premium looks very expensive, to be honest. But considering it could be up another, $6 or $7 on Monday, who the hell knows? Because it's moving around, but 36 vol it doesn't seem like a ton for, for the fact that it's just all over the place lately. So I was trying to look for something that looked cheap in there, like ratio call spreads or something that could be bad, for kind of a lower cost, lower risk way to jump in. But this rally looked better than some of the others because it wasn't as crazy on the upside. It was just a little, let's just call it, it's moderate buying today relative for our 20 VIX. We'll call it the moderate buying day. I think we're going to get a close under 20 too for VIX. So that is a psychological barrier that, so we'll see what happens there on the upside.
Yeah, Facebook, it's been just a crazy story, the drubbing of trading 180. So long ago, a couple of weeks ago, not even, and now, down 30-odd handles at the lows, of course, today. Since then, well, actually, it hit its peak, 195.32, actually, back on the 1st of February. We all know what happened later on in that week in February, and that was kind of the beginning of the downswell. Then, of course, the recent news broke, and it seems like there was just a lot of pent-up animosity towards Facebook over the years that all got kind of unleashed in this wave of vitriol, whether it was because of this Cambridge Analytica, that was more just the straw that broke the camel's back of a lot of people just getting fed up and disgusted with how much these companies actually know about you. I think we joked last time on the show, you guys were joking, how much can they know? But, they're doing things like scraping your phone number off of the Android devices and things, maybe if you have Messenger installed, and things that maybe weren't clearly disclaimed. And for a long time, it's been hard, even for savvy people, to really figure out what the hell the privacy settings mean on Facebook and set them the way you want, because they're so, shall we say, nuanced. They're very hard, let alone for your proverbial mother or grandmother right around on Facebook just wants to post pictures of their grandkids. It's an intimidating platform. So I think some of that may be coming back on them now. So we'll see. But you're right, the vol, even given all these moves and all these drubbings, not quite perhaps what you might think. 30-day realized is only 35, Mr. Rock Lobster. So 30-day implied, 37. 30-day realized only a 35. So maybe you're right. Maybe there is a little bit of, shall we say, cheapness out there in Facebook vol. Is that what you're thinking, sir?
I think it's a little cheap, to be honest. I was looking at the 170 time spreads are only like $1 for a 3-week hold. So kind of that's still some low dollar stuff relative, for, the stock could be 170 by the middle of next week. So I would say because the moves are sort of broad in nature, I think that kind of stuff looks a lot more appealing than it normally would in there. Because it is bouncy town. Bouncy town in Facebook.
Bouncy town, I like that. A lot of your crazies in the pit chat, are they slinging a lot of FB these days?
There has been some Facebook trading. And most people have been doing pretty well overall. Just not overcommitting early and then kind of riding the waves up. Mark made a couple of good Facebook call buys too. So all pretty good stuff.
What else was good stuff there, sir, is good old Dropbox launching options today. They IPO'd, last week or so, and already they're speeding up this listing cycle in options. Everyone's desperate for whatever the hot new product could be, so they launch a product, and a week or so later, it's on the boards from an options perspective. By the way, just anecdotally, Mr. Rock Lobster, can you think of a less favorable time to launch a new tech IPO than right now for the last week or so? And everyone and their mother seems to have their anti-tech hat on and all these tech-mageddon, tech backlash, get rid of Facebook, get rid of everything. Kind of everyone's dropping Snap. Everyone, not to say that Dropbox is a social media name, but it does seem like there's not exactly a favorable environment for a new tech-oriented IPO. Would you agree, sir?
It does. It is feeling a little heavy of an environment for that type of thing. But, you know, you want to get your IPO out there, and they did. What's funny is everybody's complaining about technology, but then, you know, why use social media? Why use your phone? Why use all the stuff you use? I mean, some of the stuff people put on Facebook and Twitter and all that, I go, and you're worried somebody is sharing that data? I mean, you're practically opening your bathrobe on Facebook, you know. And
yeah, there's
like 1,000 people can
certainly
see
is a lot of that. Like, hey, I'm going on vacation, so anyone on the planet can see you're not home, you know, and exactly where you live on the little map and everything else like that. So, yeah, there's a lot of people need to probably be a little bit more savvy about exactly what they're sharing. But a lot of that's on the platform too, to make that easier to do and to notify you, saying, hey, here's exactly what you're sharing. Maybe you're not sharing it. You're sharing more than you probably think are, which a lot of people, I think, are discovering that of late. But talking about back to box, good old Dropbox, ticker symbol DBX, listeners, in case you missed the IPO there. Closing today right around 31.5. This up about 2% today. This name's kind of been bouncing around a bit of late. Let's see. Hold on. Got people putting stuff in my notes. There we go. We got, it opened at, IPO'd at 29, got down to about 27.75 a few sessions ago, then hit up, pushing 35, 34, 37. So it's had a nice little range, 5 handle and change range out there since it launched. So this one, even despite the tech lash, call it what you will. I mean, when the whole market's just crushing tech names, it's got to be so disappointing, disheartening to the iBankers, everyone else who brought this public, to see all their work just undone by the market trends. But that said, this name still rallied in spite of that, which makes you wonder what it would have done if there wasn't such a strong headwind against tech stocks in this name. But hey, they listed options today. Let's see what people actually traded out there. There is no ADV because today was the first day. So I guess the ADV right now is 97.22 because that's what they traded right now today. As you might imagine, since the stock's up about 2% today, calls leading the dance about 2 to 1, almost exactly 2 to 1, actually, about 6,500 versus 3,100 puts. And it seems like, as you might imagine, a lot of this stuff was concentrated in your usual strikes and in the weeklies. And looks like the biggest trade actually was 1,200 of the April 30 calls, which are now in the money. So interesting, almost 1,300 of these going up. Looks like paper perhaps selling a bunch of these for around 310 or so. So perhaps getting in some, they went out 270 at 370. So perhaps some size. Oh, also it's like 1,500, the April 35s went up. So perhaps maybe a bit of a very wide 30-35 vertical going up there. We'll have to dig in over there and see a little bit. But that seems, those two trades accounting for about 2,800 of the 9,000 contracts, so roughly a third of today's volume. Going up in those two strikes. Also 1,200 of the May 22 puts going up out there. So maybe someone looking to lock in a little bit of this, Mr. Rock, or at the very least prevent the apocalypse going up here. Let's see if I can pull up those really quick. Looks like actually, a lot of those coming up on the buy-in side for about, looks like 30 cents. Good, lots of 10 lots piling in there. So small chunks adding up to 1,200 there. So interesting stuff. Any of your hardcore slinging any DBX today, Mr. Rock Lobster? We didn't do anything with Dropbox today that I could tell. It was kind of a relatively quiet day on that front. So just not much on the Dropbox yet. So I wish I could add a little more to your story there, but not a bad first day for sure. Yeah, and a lot of names would certainly love to have 9,000 some odd contracts on their first day. So interesting stuff. Speaking of interesting stuff, our mystery Tesla puts getting a lot of love these days in the mainstream financial media. So let's get right to it of our own volition here with the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Odd Block. This is indeed the portion of the program where we break down the weird, the wild, the wondrous stuff. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know we've been we were kind of first on the cusp here on these crazy, these funky, these mystery Tesla catastrophe puts, aka the Jan 2019 50 puts. That's where the whole ball kind of got rolling. And we've been on those for quite some time in terms of what's been going up out here, what's been going on. We've, of course, been talking to you guys. We've been talking to everybody on our network, having people weigh in. You guys have weighed in with all sorts of crazy ideas about what exactly it is. It's about 37,000 open on this strike right now. And then maybe it's interesting to see exactly how much traction these have gotten because they're finally starting to spill over into the mainstream media. In fact, our buddy over there, Saqib at Reuters, putting out an interesting write-up about these, talking about extreme bearish options on Tesla making money as the stock dives. And to his credit, he did reach out to us because he admitted to me that he heard about them on our network. So we've been out there beating the drum on these for a while. I thought it was also funny that he also interviewed for the article Ophir and Henry, both of whom have been on the show and both of whom we told about these puts. So we've been out there beating the drum on these puts for quite some time, but he was kind of fascinated by what's been going on out there. We talked a bit about it, about our theories that it's probably a big CDS player out there. Some others like Ophir, like he mentioned on this show, kind of opined that it might be a ratio spread. I can see how you might think that, but that's not how this paper went up. I mean, you look at the OI now, you can say, oh, it looks like a ratio, but it clearly went up with the 50 puts by themselves first for size, and then the other strikes started lighting up later on. And speaking of lighting up, today is indeed the day when maybe someone wanted to live in obscurity, Mr. Rock Lobster, and now that the light has finally been shown on them, the cockroaches are perhaps starting to scurry, or either that or someone read the article and said, you know what, I like this trade because they were trading for size today. 11,000 of the Jan 2019 50 puts going on the tape today. That's on OI of 37,000 and change. These things are just exploding, Mr. Rock. The stock, of course, Tesla just taking it on the chin, off about 100 handles in the past couple of weeks or so, maybe even less than that. It was trading 350, 355 not too long ago, hitting as low as 250 down there in the last few sessions. Let's see, how low did it actually go? 250, actually 248. It was there today, actually. So nice 20. nice range of 18 handles out there in good old Tesla today. I know a lot of you are sweating. A lot of you are feeling the pain because a lot of you have been writing puts. I know Tesla is a popular put writing name. Hopefully you've taken our advice over the years on the show to do so in a risk mitigated fashion. I know it's hard to buy that other leg of the put spread, but times like this, you know, we say a lot on the show, those kind of strategies work until they don't. This is the time when it doesn't. And a lot of those guys, I know a lot of you have felt that pain south of the 300 strike, so hopefully you've been rolling and adjusting judicially. You're not just holding on, waiting for it to bounce back, because that strategy had worked until it always seemed like it did bounce back north of 300 until this week when it finally gave up the ghost. So many of these negative bearish articles coming out on Tesla. But of interest, Mr. Rock Lobster, 11,000 of these puts trading today, these quote-unquote formerly garbage, now nearly $2 puts. These things are just doubling. These things are crazy. Have you looked at these things, Mr. Rock Lobster?
I have. I was actually doing a little side research, and when the market was not doing well, it's not like it's suffering, but in the late February, the January 2019 50 puts were 30.54 on open interest of 36,000. Now, and the vol on those things was 92%. So this is for everybody that's trying to understand vol, learning how things trade, and all this other stuff. Now those same puts, because the vol in Tesla has exploded, that same put is 109 volatility right now. So it's gone up a bit from what it was not cheap before. And those puts are $1.88. So they've done a good, they have at least a triple going, an easy triple. Let's call it an easy triple. And the thing hasn't even broken 250.
Yeah, so we mercilessly mock these as being, kind of an absurd way to go. And straight up, they are. They are an absurd way. If you want to do any actual hedging, that's an absurd strike to choose. But that said, if you're doing some crazy outlandish spec with money you never want to see again, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to see it again. This time, you're actually doing all right. In fact, not only did Reuters write it up, Mr. Rock Lobster, but a listener sent us something earlier this week of a piece off Seeking Alpha. Someone actually writing about these puts before the Reuters put one up. I think it was a retail guy. I don't know the guy's name, Don Bailey. He says he's a long-term trader. But he's writing, and once it hits Seeking Alpha, that means it's penetrated the broad mainstream retail investing consciousness. He was talking about how he's been trading these for a while. He started buying what he terms his family's holdings at prices ranging from 46 cents in January to 82 cents this past week. He finally decided to sell out half around $1 because he thought that was a good business. And then he was mad that he got up to 107. He left some on the table. I'm guessing he's a little more mad now, but still, this guy's talking about 64% return in 3 months on these crappy puts. So yeah, we've been mocking. Meanwhile, people have been gobbling these up. So I think all the attention we've shined on these crazy puts, Mr. Rock Lobster, has amounted to some serious OI in these names. I was looking here today on our old friend Henry's trade alerts. He wanted to come on today, but he's actually heading for Europe with his kids. Again, everyone but you and me, Mr. Rock Lobster, on vacation today. We're the only ones holding down the fort here on the old network. But I'm looking at the Tesla puts, and these things were trading 11,000, including a big block of 2,300 going up today, Mr. Rock Lobster. Someone bought them through the offer for 230. Mr. Rock Lobster. So someone actually bought these. It says above ask, so it could have gone up out of sequence. You never know. So you can't really assume that they're buying these. But on the surface, looks like a buy. And for $2, $2.30. These things were just, 30 cents, 50 cents. We were kind of joking when they got to 75. Wow, these things are crazy rich. Someone just paid over 3x for those, Mr. Rock Lobster.
Well, I think there was the news, too, was, I guess, financing. Musk needs to raise another $2 billion or his company's going to run out of money. So, and I'm still thinking Apple's going to come and pick up the pieces. Musk is, I think, pretty well liked, a technology guy. He's a green guy. And I don't know what Apple will pick up. I mean, they paid up for that Beats company, right, for $3 billion for a headphone company, crying out loud. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. But hey, certainly most successful company in the world. So they're doing what they're doing. But I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for when they come in and white knight this. I would be surprised if they spent $50 billion on it. But of course they could to bail Elon out. But I still think there's a lot more rough road ahead for Tesla, but that guy always pulls a rabbit out of a hat. And I think, he's like, I just need to raise $2 billion to build the Model 3 and we're going to be set. We're going to be cash flow positive and everything will be cool. And so who knows? He could convince Apple to give him $2 billion easily. He has the skills to do it.
Yeah, and they've said for a while he doesn't need that $2 billion. There's all these bearish articles saying in the next 12 months or they're out of cash, they're out of money, all that kind of stuff. But you're right, they can dilute maybe some of this price right now, reflecting potential dilution of that. Because at the end of the day, if they're going to raise something, convertibles that can convert to equity as opposed to the straight up debt that everyone kind of agrees was probably a mistake for them. Because those guys don't play. But some convertible debt may make sense, even though if God forbid it dilutes his own personal holdings a little bit. But yeah, I just love the fact that the world is finally catching on to our mystery puts. Mr. Rock Lobster, we're kind of in the vanguard of this. We've been beating the drum for close to a year now on these puts, and finally the world is waking up to the madness that is Tesla Jan 2019 50 puts. Does that put a smile on your face as you're turning your wood bowls there in Maine, sir?
It does actually. We were looking at those, and the weirdest thing is you buy puts like that and they just don't decay. You're buying, and it's one of those things where the reason why, obviously somebody just thinks the whole thing is going to zero. But The reality is a lot can happen in the meantime. The stock doesn't have to go to 50. It doesn't have to go to 100. It doesn't have to go to 150. It has to just start getting, a little iffy, and all of a sudden the vol blows up. And those things, volatility, those are highly vol-sensitive options, and they just explode. And then you'd think, why would a liquidity provider buy those? Because they can buy those for $2 and then sell something else for $10. So they're looking for that kind of stuff if they need it. So that's why that vol can blow up, and you gotta be oh so careful when you think that stuff is free money. You just gotta you're waiting for a while to collect it.
That's the problem. You're tying up capital for a long time. But a lot of our listeners who were salivating at the $3 to $6 to $9 puts on the 300 strike are starting to stroke their chin at these 50 handle puts for close to $3, $2.30 or so. They're looking at those saying, I could do that. It's a lot safer than what I just did with these 300 handle puts. So hopefully you're proceeding in a more, shall we say, relaxed fashion. Speaking of relaxed, let's move on to our next name there. We just love the Tesla puts getting the drumbeat of love, and go figure. They actually worked, at least for the short term, which is probably the biggest mystery of all. But yeah, looking at Kellogg out here, another one lighting it up today, up about 1.7%, hitting the 65 handle out here. It's a name that does about 4,000 contracts today. Today doing about 6,600. It's not a whack-em, sack-em robots day here. But by the way, ticker symbol K for all of you out here who don't know this one. But the big trade out here, you can scroll down and see it for yourselves. About 5,000. The SEP 75 is going up for 83 cents, right about near the offer or so. Worth noting, there are earnings on the 3rd, so it's not a straight-up earnings play, but there is earnings included, at least from a move perspective here on the SEP contract, even though it is a little bit beyond the earnings cycle. And I said about 4,500 went up in one block for 83 cents near the offer. Total about 5,000 and change. Going up, OI non-existent pretty much. So straight up opening on the offer paper. You can kind of read into the tea leaves to kind of see what's cooking there. Perhaps looking here at the year that's been, actually it's been a rough year for Kellogg. They started off the year about $73. I'm talking about a year ago from here, actually. They hit as low of 58 back on October of last year. Then around earnings, they rallied a bit again. Got as high recently as 70 and change, and they're back off now around the 65 handle. So it's kind of been all over the place. But looks like someone, Mr. Rock Lobster, betting that the old cereal name's gonna rally ho back to the 75 strike. Are you buying what they're selling, sir?
Takeover, somebody wants them. It could happen. You're seeing a lot of this paper. I like GE is one I like for kind of a little rebound play, but long term, like 2020 and 2019 options. But I can see how, it's where the market does this. I remember after 2001, and it happens when you have these kind of big cyclical, like the Qs are sky high. I know they were higher, but they're still pretty high. So folks look for dollars and other things. So they're looking for stocks that are kind of a little more, what is it, the mom and pop type stocks like Kellogg, where they just want the dividend, and there's going to be rotation into those type of names after a while. Like, so what is it, 2002, when the technology got destroyed, I think Berkshire Hathaway was up, 15 or 20%, and technology was down, like 50% that year. So this is kind of this is the feeling that you could see some buyers piling into stuff like that. So I believe that somebody could be looking for something big. Big.
If you're looking for a big pop cereal, it's the place you want to be, baby. That's where the money is, they say. They need to say plastics, now it's cereals. So go figure. Speaking of going to figure, let's figure out our next one here. This is a newcomer to the odd block. This is Eldorado Resorts Inc, ticker symbol ERI. Closing today, $33 even. Up about, again, 1.7%. This is the name that does about 250 contracts a day. So that's typical odd block size, which is nice. Some of these names we talked about lately have been doing a lot more, average a lot more than that, but this is more odd block territory. 250 today, doing over 5,000. So that's a big pop for this little name. And pretty much of that 5,273, It was 5,021 coming on the June 35s, lighting it up today in 2 blocks of 2,500. The first one going up for $1.55. Not on the bid, about a dime off of the bid. They were about $1.45 at $1.70, so a little wide on these. Obviously, not exactly a big liquid name, so they're not gonna exactly let you come in and middle it exactly, but not a bad price, $1.55 on there. So leaning bid wise on that execution. Doing again 2,500 there and a 2,500 at a ladder kind. Total of 5,000. Open interest about 1,400. So it's already a size strike for this name at least. But way more going up today. Obviously, looking here at the charts of good old ERI. This name has had a decent run. A year ago, they opened up right around about $18.50. These days, almost 2x that at 33 right now. They got as high as about 37. Actually, they hit 30. Looks like they got they hit about 30, right about 38, 37.95. So they did pretty much double over the course of the year. Then kind of selling off a little bit back down to 33. So these 35s are an interesting time line choice, an interesting strike selection as well. And the execution kind of in the middle, a little bit towards the bid side. So looks like it could be a bit of an aggressive call over, right? If that's the case, $1.55 between now and June. I don't know. It's we've seen worse. We've definitely seen worse, Mr. Rock Lobster. We've seen people give up a lot more time than that for a lot less money. 30 cents, 47 cents. So these have 78 days to go until expiration. I don't know. What are you feeling on these, Mr. Rock Lobster? It'd be about a not quite 5%, about 4.7% yield if it all comes to pass. So that's not bad through June. What do you say, sir?
I think that would be a reasonable one. I mean, this thing is kind of ripped up. It's still, it's not where it was, 37, but still, I would say it's reasonable. I think, there could be some. I'm sure that some folks are toning down their upside expectations, just because this market's doing all kinds of, it's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's doing all that kind of stuff. So I would guess with the vol where we are, we'll see a little more call overriding.
Yeah, suddenly that strategy is du jour again. It's hot again. So everyone can actually write some calls. And, it is Thursday. This is usually the part of the show where we toss to Uncle Mike and have him do some strategery. But, he's off having fun in the sun. So we thought, in his honor, we shall carry on the tradition with a special guest star version of the Strategy Block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Strategy Block. This is, of course, usually the part of the show where we toss to Uncle Mike. I'm always a little nervous because you never know what happens when you hand a hot mic over to Uncle Mike. These days, I'm even more nervous because I just tossed to the Rock Lobster with literally 10 seconds worth of preparation. So you have no idea what's going to come out of his mouth. But a spoiler alert, I'm going to go out on a limb, listeners, and just guess now that I have no foreknowledge, but I'm just going to guess that it's probably something to do with VIX. Am I right, Mr. Rock Lobster?
It could be something to do with VIX. Your little birdie somehow. It's amazing how you can just peer into the mind and just pull those little nuggets out of there.
I feed these birdies well, so they reward me with good nuggets of info.
They do. So what I was going to talk about today is the VIX Zone concept. So why do I do that in the first place? Why is it useful? Why do my clients like it? The one thing is most people are not familiar with the volatility. They kind of know about it in the abstract, but I want to give everybody a kind of something they can touch for volatility. So the baseline is a 1% move in the underlying, kind of the back of the envelope daily volatility is 16%. So if the SPX is moving 1% per day, which right now is 26 points a day, that's 16 volatility. So you can think of it as roughly being a 16 VIX, right? So if the SPX is moving 1% a day, that's a 16 VIX. So you're trying to, when you're trying to set up time spreads and butterflies and all these types of trades, it's important to know kind of what the average daily move is, or what the market thinks the average, what's going on right now. What's the move right now? So I broke things down into zone. So basically volatility from around 9 to 13 VIX, zone 1. That's the lower quartile. 14 to 17 is the second quartile. 18 to 23 is the third, and anything over 24 is the fourth. So the market kind of, within a percentage point, basically stays in those four quartiles for VIX. So what I do, though, is I separate things again a little bit, like a 16 vol market. So are we a 16 vol market right now, meaning 1% move per day on average? I would say no, we're higher. So it is in the, let's just call it out of zone 2 into zone 3, so you have more movement. So if you're trading options, if you have short-term trades or whatever you're really looking at, you've got to look at the current VIX and get a sense of what the market's going to do. So if you're a put seller and you're like, oh, I'm going to sell puts in the SPX, you have to take into consideration that you're going to see 30 points a day in the SPX, 30 handles a day, every day, while VIX is here, because that's what the market's pricing. It's pricing that kind of a move. So if you buy time spreads, if you buy put spreads, any trade you want to create, you have to get a good idea of what that average daily move is going to be. Are you going to touch the strikes that you sold? How aggressive out of the money are you selling it? I don't like selling anything that looks like an iron condor in zone 4, because you can get to an end so quickly because the vol's so high. All of a sudden you're moving 2% a day or 3% a day, and boom, you put on iron condor that you thought was 10% out of the money, and you're there in 3 days, and your iron condor is blowing up in your face. So what all of this does is it sets an expectation for what you think realized vol is, meaning how much is underlying volatility moving. So for VIX and the SPX, we'll use that as an example. Zone 1 characterizes very low realized vol, meaning we don't do a lot. So trades that I look at in zone 1 are trades that make money when SPX doesn't move very much, right? It's a specific type of position. Zone 2 is it's moving more. So I'm looking for SPX to move, because now all of a sudden we're about 1% a day. I'm looking for SPX to move to a place. So the trade is much more, the position is more linked to getting somewhere. Zone 3, we're moving a lot, right? All of a sudden now I can start to play on the wings, or the sort of the right at the edge of sort of one standard deviation, because things are moving all over the place. You could hedge, you could position in different ways because things are moving differently. Vol skew is different. Everything is a lot different when you're in zone 3, higher vol. Zone 4 is what I would characterize it as. Realized vol in zone 4 is almost always underpriced, meaning the actual volatility of underlying stocks in the SPX is much more usually than what VIX is pricing. If you look at the last couple of days, even though VIX is a 20, we had more than a 20 vol move today. We've had more bigger moves than that. So you want to look for trades that actually do well when the market moves a lot. So by setting up a zone concept, the only thing I'm trying to do is get people to look at the right type of trade for the realized vol that we're actually trading, how the market's moving, and then how the market's actually pricing the options. And then you go in and try to find edge. And I won't even get into how the vol futures trade and react on all that stuff. But that is basically the zone concept, and we have just moved from zone 4 yesterday down to zone 3, so we're finally starting to slide a little bit, but the vol futures haven't slid back into contango just yet. They kind of flattened out, so I still would wait before I'm calling the calling it done for volatility. I'd like to see a little more of the curve reflect the fact that vol could go lower. Haven't quite seen it yet, but it is approaching. Let's just call it. It's approaching normalcy. We're almost dead flat for VIX in the April future, so it's been a while for that. But anyway, so that's the zone concept. You could also apply that to individual underlyings and ETFs as well, where you try to separate the volatility levels for the product you're interested in. And what I tell my clients is they're like scan. And what I would rather tell them is, instead of scanning, just get good at really learning how your particular underlyings trade. If you're looking for 10 or 20, I have about 100 or 150 or so in my head. But understand how the underlyings you trade, how the vol trades in those things, and get used to that. Learn the nuance of the products that you're looking at, and you'll become much better faster by kind of focusing on the same thing, using the zone concept to sort of understand when vol is out of place, what should I be doing? Of course, you can learn all that stuff. We teach all that at Option Pit, but for right now, that is your strategy block. So right now, we're in zone 3. Expect things to move.
I like it. If you don't do a webinar someday, that's a VIX highway to the danger zone. I just don't know what you're doing over there, sir. I mean, it's just
VIX made easy.
Yeah, VIX made easy. Forget that. VIX highway to the danger zone. It writes itself, sir. It really does.
I like it.
All right. Hopefully you like that too. Hopefully Uncle Mike is smiling somewhere, even though his ears are burning down in good old scenic and sunny Florida. As we roll right on into our final segment, it is time for Around the Block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block. Before we get to you really quickly what we're watching on this elongated holiday weekend, because we're not going to be back tomorrow for any of our shows, really quick update on our March Madness. The tourney is coming down to the wire. We're coming down to the wire here in our tournament as well. We have selected, or I should say you guys have selected, our final 4 firms here to make it into the battle. Can you just go off on a limb, Mr. Rock Lobster, try to guess what our final 4 of our tournament is? Who do you think made it all the way to the final 4?
Let's see, Tastyworks, Lightspeed, TradeStation, and Robinhood.
Wow, good guesses. Have you been looking at the notes?
I just did. But I only saw 2. I guessed Robinhood. I guessed Robinhood and TradeStation. Those are real guesses. The other 2 I already knew.
Yeah, you're pretty close. Our first, we have 2 battles going up. Our final 4 right now is Tastyworks, the newcomer for this year, taking on winner from 2 years ago, I believe, Ally Invest. They were TradeKing when they won 2 years ago. We'll see if Ally can keep the rub, keep the love. So far, doing pretty good. They made it all the way to the final 4. And our other battle for the final 4 is Tradestation versus Lightspeed. Lightspeed, last year's winner. We'll see what we're setting up for. We'll see if the Tradestation faithful can motivate themselves to put up a good fight against Lightspeed, and if the Ally folks can put up a good fight against Tasty. Both of those groups, they have motivated audiences behind them. We're doing well so far, propelling them through this contest. So yes, we are in our final 4 right now. Those battles are going for the next, I think, day or so. If you haven't voted, get on over to @options. It's the easiest place to do it. That's where the Twitter poll is. But you can always vote in other places. You can vote in Facebook, you vote in StockTwits, vote on our website feedback form via email, all of the above. The more you do that, and also retweet and like and all that other stuff you do, in fact, it's important you vote on other platforms because we can track those. You can't really track when you vote in the poll, just the overall numbers, but we can track if you like or retweet or do all the other stuff or vote on the other platforms. And when you do that, guess what? Every time you do that, you're entered to win fabulous prizes. Maybe a week of bowl turning lessons with the Rock Lobster. You never know. Fabulous prizes await, so get out there, vote, retweet, like. It's Chicago style, so vote early, vote often. Have your mothers and brothers and sisters all vote too, because it all counts, and you can win something cool. So let your brokers know how you feel, and then maybe you win something. So everyone wins. It's a win-win. The final battle will take place, the final game, April 2nd to April 3rd. So the final 4 goes for a little while. Then we're off for the weekend. Everyone can take a breath, decompress, and we're back hot and heavy with the final battle, April 2nd to 3rd. So get in there and determine who makes it into that final battle. That said, Mr. Rock Lobster, we're kind of off now. We're kind of done. The markets are closed. What is on your radar for this elongated holiday weekend into next week, sir?
Besides bull turning?
Well, clearly bull turning is on everyone's mind.
I'm going to do some Easter, Good Friday, relaxing, finishing my taxes probably tomorrow, stuff like that. Nothing super exciting, and I'm waiting for the snow to melt because it is, after all, mud season in Maine. So that's kind of really what we got going on here. Looking for some ham and some lamb and stuff like that. Nothing super exciting, and I'd like to see if this rally actually holds up Monday. Is
that what the bowl for? Is the bowl to hold the delicious ham and lamb?
No. Yeah, you just put snacks in it. It's a snack bowl.
Oh, it's a snack bowl. Well, hopefully you can put a nice good layer or two of lacquer in there, so I don't have to eat all your wood shavings every time I get a handful of Cheetos over there in the Rock. That's why I don't visit the Rock Lobster house. I'm scared of eating sawdust. But I love how you're still doing the taxes. We here in the corporate world, we had to have our stuff done by the 15th of this month, so it's already in the rearview mirror for us. But you folks need to get it done by the regular date. So yes, I do feel for you. But that music, of course, means we're done for this week. We're also done for pretty much all of our shows for the rest of the week. If you don't worry, if you're feeling sad, you're feeling bad, you're going to miss out on some vol views or some TWIFO. Stay tuned to those feeds. We'll get some best ofs uploaded for you tomorrow, so we won't leave you hanging. Don't worry. You'll have a little something to enjoy. If you want to take a break from the family, get away from them for a little bit and have your little me time with some Options Insider Radio. I know, I feel you. I do that all the time myself. So we'll have some content up there for you. Of course, there's always extensive archives. I don't care when you joined our network. We've been doing it for 11 years. So chances are there's something you haven't heard. Head on over to the website. Easiest place to do that. Just scroll there through all of it. Some places like iTunes and others, they limit how many back episodes you can get access to. The app will also do that too. So you want to grab our app. You can get deep into the archives of all of your favorite shows. Maybe discover some new ones that you never knew existed until now. Good time to do that on these holiday weekends. But that's it. We got to go. Make sure you hit up Uncle Mike if you want some, maybe talk about a little. When he gets back to his office, of course, we're going to talk about a little bit of skew. Maybe you want to buy his book, Go Long, all that fun stuff. Hit him up there, M2Saw at rcmfs.com. And Mr. Rock Lobster, if I want to check out your VIX in the Danger Zone webinar, where should I go? What should I do?
Go to optionpit.com and go to our store where you can purchase the Danger Zone webinars and learn yourself how these vol products trade.
You have a store now. Is that just on the store link?
It's on if you go to our website page, you'll see a link for the store. And you just go in there and scroll through and pick whatever delicious, tasty treat that you can find from our goodies.
Okay, I see the Vol newsletter. Oh, I see the store link now. Okay, yeah, there it is. Boot camp. I still see that one that's infringing on my trademark, sir. So my lawyer will be contacting you forthwith to deal with that. But that, unfortunately, is all the time we have here on the old Option Block. Head on to the store. Check out everything except the boot camp that infringes on our trademarks. So don't go near that. But understand, check out the VIX Made Easy, soon to be renamed VIX in the Danger Zone, which is really cool. And all the other cool stuff they had over there. Hit on the Vol newsletter while you're there as well. Maybe you want to sign up for Andrew's newsletter. Maybe you like that zone stuff in VIX. You want to get a little bit more delivered to your inbox every day. The Rock Lobster will do that for you. On behalf of the Rock Lobster, Uncle Mike, wherever the heck he is, sunning and tanning himself, and indeed myself, thank all of you out there for downloading, streaming, subscribing, for sending in such great comments, keeping us up on all the latest happenings on the Tesla puts and all the other fun stuff that you guys do. We love it all. And we'll see you next week for more of the Option Block.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.